There we go, record. We live, baby. That's us, baby. What's wrong?
Nothing. I just feel like putting it together.
I want to get my watch on there. Look.
Hey, childish. Welcome to the Biblical Barbershop, y'all.
The Biblical Barbershop. We hot and we coming at you.
All right.
Hit the intro. What you doing? Going live? Yo, it's your boy Rev G.
It's your boy A Hawk. What's the deal?
We back at you with the Biblical Barbershop, and A House gonna open us up with a word of prayer.
Dear, if you could bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you for another opportunity to sit down with my bro and discuss Jesus Christ and just what's going on in the world, man. I want to pray for the family who lost a little young man the other day, man. Our city is mourning, man. So, for those in those situations, hold your head up, man. God is looking out for you. Lord, I just ask that you wrap your arms around us during this show, Lord. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
So we've been talking and touching a little bit on the protests going on in the different cities and states around the United States and everything.
Yes,
Me and bro, we've been talking about the lack of true leadership in a bunch of different areas, and how it's affecting the protests, since there's always seemed to be an uphill battle when it comes to finding a true leader. Why do you think that is, bro? What's going on with that?
I think if we talk about true leadership, I think we're in a day and age where everybody sort of fights against leadership.
Okay.
Everybody wants to be a leader. Everybody wants to be in charge. Nobody wants to follow. As you and I know, we've said great leadership has to be preceded by great fellowship. So
Okay.
you have to know how to follow before you can truly lead in a manner that is very effective. And I think we miss that now. So one of the reasons I would say is why do we fight so hard against leadership is because everybody wants to be a leader and nobody wants to follow. What would you say?
What would I say? I guess I would kind of have to agree with you. Because what I've been seeing, I've been scrolling through Facebook with this quarantine, everything going on. So I find myself from time to time just kind of locked in on Facebook.
Right.
And what I see a lot of people talking about is woke.
Woke.
So, how woke are you? You don't know what you're talking about because you ain't woke enough. You know what I'm saying? And it seems like instead of trying to get on the same page, we kind of always are pitting ourselves against each other. Yeah. So I wonder why do we do that? Like, what?
I think
other than the fact that nobody wants to be a leader anymore.
Nobody wants to be a follower. Everybody wants to be a leader.
Everybody wants to be a leader.
Everybody wants to be a leader.
There's a lot of what they say, a lot of chiefs and not enough
Indians. And here's the thing, I think, like you said with the woke, it becomes such a counterproductive conversation when it's like, I'm woke and you not woke.
Right.
So we're, again, like you said, when we should be pushing for the same thing, we found something else to debate about.
Right.
And it's like, why are we debating about this kind of stuff?
Right.
If we come up and said each one teach one. So if I was woke and I knew something you didn't, I didn't whoop you with my knowledge.
Right.
It was my responsibility as a brother to you to help teach you. So I think it's a lot of cultural changing when we've gotten into this place where we're not in true community with each other. We don't really look at each other and see brotherhood. We always seeing a challenge. So then it gets into this place where I want to be over you. I always want to be better than you. So I want to be smarter than you. I want to run faster than you. I want to do everything better than you. So I can never really teach you, and there's no together.
Right. So by what you just said, a lot of people would say this whole talk about systematic racism, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And a problem with systematic racism is like the oppression that you experience in systematic racism.
Yes.
So it seems like, do you think that's a trauma that's caused by systematic racism is the reason why we pit ourselves against each other? Because it would seem like with as hard as we fought to vote and to get out of slavery and to go through all those things, to turn around and battle each other, that seemed like why would we want to do that? Like
I think you're right. I think the oppression is a trauma.
Okay.
Is a form of trauma, but you got to look at, if we're talking about Black people, which we are in particular,
right?
And we're talking about this country. We're talking about the transatlantic slave trade. We're talking about raping, mutilating, and the most inhumane things ever.
Right.
You're talking about a constitution that made us not a whole human being. You're talking about fighting. So there are historical, is what we call it, historical trauma.
Okay.
We do suffer from that, and you got to understand the power of slavery was they broke up families, they broke up tribes. You weren't supposed to be with people you know, and they didn't allow you to get married, and they did not. You had kids, they would ship them somewhere else. So they pitted, and it was a pitting us against each other. Yeah. And that's what made it so successful.
Yeah, I guess before I would just get mad. Like whenever I hear like a Black person did something to another Black person, it would just make me mad and angry. Right. You know what I'm saying? But it seemed like the more that I've been in the Word and the more, I've been talking to you and we just been having these discussions, it just seems, I get sad.
Yeah, it's sad.
You know what I'm saying? It's sad for our people because it's like we already fighting just to have just a little piece of the pie, but then the little piece that we got, we fight over that little piece.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how do we get to a place where we are sticking together instead of fighting over? How do we get to a place where we are building each other up instead of tearing each other down over whatever we can find a reason to tear each other down over?
Man, you know what? I wish I knew. I think if I really so if I be honest with you, the only place I can find that is in my Bible, in our worship of God together, loving God and following His principles. It would draw us in together.
Right.
That's it. I think the problem is there's historical trauma, and there's a lot of things that have happened in our society that continue to pull us apart. And then we as a people, like you said, we sort of, instead of loving each other and being together with each other, we have adjusted to this debating and trying to be better. And only my family has become only the people who live in my house.
Right.
It's not an extension. I don't look at, like you said before, we're hurting. My city is hurting because Legend was just murdered.
Yeah.
4 years old, murdered at home, sleep. But the thing is, in our streets, so many people don't. I cried that night.
Yeah.
Because I got a 1-year-old grandbaby. I thought about Eric, your son, and I seen my people in it. But if we can't start seeing ourselves in each other, then we're never gonna connect with each other like we once did.
Yeah, what's crazy is we always have the debate over when we talk about racism and when we talk about white people. You know what I'm saying? Even though we got a bunch of cool white friends, you know what I'm saying? We always have the debate on whether or not it will ever change.
Right.
Like, will they racist? Will they ever come to a place where they're not racist against us? When we get on the elevator, will they not clutch their purses? When they drive through our neighborhoods, will they not lock their doors, right? Do you think we will ever get to a place mentally where we will support each other
yes.
as a community?
I think we can, because we once did. When you got to understand, coming out of slavery and in the segregation, like we talk about,
right?
You don't have a civil rights movement with ultimate division.
Okay.
You don't have voting rights.
Right.
You don't have the bus boycott with division.
Right.
You understand? They shut down the buses for over a year.
Right.
You can't do that with division.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So there was this togetherness, and there was this concerted effort. And you had young people sitting in counters and doing freedom rides. You had older people. They stopped catching the bus. They were walking. They were carpooling. You see what I'm saying? You can't do that without togetherness. I think we have to understand, one of the things is we don't really look at the history, right?
Right.
So we look at, like Martin Luther King. a great leader, but you got to understand the togetherness that took. You got to understand the SELC, they put together all the churches, and he would travel. He couldn't stay in hotels. He was staying in churches and in people's houses, and they had money. Harry Belafonte and some of the entertainers. You got what's my guy? The tap dancer.
I know you.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, the Candyman can. The Candyman can. You know what I'm talking about? Is it Sammy Davis Jr.?
Sammy Davis Jr.
Sammy Davis Jr.
Right, yeah.
Harry Belafonte,
right.
Sidney Poitier,
right.
Driving around with these big suitcases full of cash to go follow behind them because they knew they were going to get arrested. That's togetherness, man. You don't get where we at without togetherness.
Yes, but I'm just wondering, it's the year 2020.
Right.
We all got phones.
Right.
We all got agendas.
Mm-hmm.
We all, we gotta get our hair done. We gotta get our hair cut.
They got their hair done back in the day.
We gotta get the crispy new J's. We gotta, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it seems like it is so much stuff that it seems like comes ahead of our race right now. It's like we put everything ahead of that. So it's hard for me to see a time where we will come together. You know what I'm saying? And I just wonder sometimes, you know what I'm saying? And I hear about the grace of God and through the love of Christ and all this type of stuff. And if we get back to Christ, then we can get back to a place where we loving on each other and we taking care of each other like that. But do you honestly feel like we can ever get back to that place?
I have to believe that we can. I have to have hope that we can get back to that place. Because if not, what are we doing here? I have to have hope for that. Because at the end of the day, right now, here's the interesting thing. I think I was looking at something the other day. George Floyd passed. There's been a protest every day since. And I think it's over 30-something days now.
Right.
You have worldwide, not just nationwide, worldwide protests. And what you're starting to see is you got a lot of companies coming out apologizing. You got Mississippi finally changing their state flag. You got the Confederate flags coming down. You got the coach from Alabama. You got a lot of people talking. And let me say this. Some of this stuff is cosmetic change.
Right.
But cosmetic change is still some kind of change.
Right, okay.
And so I think right now, as you see the power of, even though there's a lot of different things going on with these different protests, you see the power of standing up together and being together. So I'm praying that we as men in the community, you and I, especially as Christian men, we use this momentum to start grabbing a hold of people and saying, listen, you see what's happening right now? Like, we don't have to stop. If we take this position for the rest of our lives, we can change the course for our kids, for our women. We can change the course of how violence is. Because I want to say this, Kansas City, stand up. Because everybody want to say black people, why they ain't doing this. Those people out there where baby boy got murdered, they was out there canvassing.
Boy, they were sharing.
They's out there praying. They're out there going door to door. There are people in the city that are giving their own money for extra reward money. I ain't seeing people sit on this like I've seen them sit before. So it's a vibe that hasn't sort of got into the air, and it's just now as we talk about leadership, it's a prime time for leaders to rise up and say, let's go this way.
Because I see our mayor, Quentin Lucas, boy, he been putting into work, and I know he's getting it from all kind of different directions because of this whole mask thing. And
you can't forget that, like we're in the midst of a pandemic, right? But like you said, he's standing up and he's listening, and people are feeling hurt. So when you get momentum, like you gotta run. And you gotta say, if this man, let's hold him to his word. Let's challenge him. Let's hold him accountable. But like you said, it has to be more of a concerted effort. It can't just be all over the place. You see what I'm saying?
I've been seeing a lot of protests. Down on the plaza. And I'm proud of it. You know what I'm saying? I haven't necessarily been down there for the protests. Like I told you the last time, I've been pepper sprayed and I've been falsely accused and I've been slammed by the police. So I don't want to go do it for fun.
And you've been correctly accused and
I've been correctly accused
and
I've been correctly slammed. Definitely. You know what I'm saying? But I was just wondering this morning because we were just talking about this whole woke thing. You know what I'm saying? And I just see that on Facebook and I'm like, dang, man, if we would spend some of this time that we use being divided and debating over stuff that didn't matter, then we could really come together and like really take charge in a situation like this. So I'm shout out to all the people out there who are taking charge, who are, you know what I'm saying, calling into that, organizing and getting out there. You know what I'm saying?
Making signs. I see
making signs and posting up and taking your time because it's about your time, talent, and treasure too when it comes to the kingdom of God. So, you know, for those people who are using their talents or who are using their time to represent the Black culture and the urban community for change for us, man, shout out to y'all because I know, you know, it takes a lot of hard work and everything. We on the front line, but like on the second row.
Really, bro? Nah, we on the front line. We ain't on no second row, bro. Let's stop that. And I say that I think everybody has, and I think I said it last show, everybody has a different part to play in this. Right. And maybe it is your part to get out and hold a sign and this and that. And it's my part as a minister, as a man of God. It's me, you know, I work in that realm. Right. You know, we do a lot of stuff. We do mentoring in the city. Right. We're getting involved with another program that's supposed to be bridging the gap between some Black brothers and some white brothers. Right. We're getting involved with that, and there's other things that we're doing. So it's not that our protest is not marching on the line with you, but my life is my protest. Right. And then I live my life in a manner that is up front. You know, we live our life in a manner. You're a Black father, right? Taking care of your kids, right? You know, we ain't talking about just
right. And we have to start giving people credit for that, not for paying all the bills.
That's it.
For being in the house.
Being in the house and being around and being present.
A role model, being present.
Being present for that. So that's our protest. Right. Because we're not raising another generation of fatherless kids. We're not raising a generation of moralless kids. We're raising a generation of kids. You and I are raising kids with morals, decency and order and respect, and with faith. So that's another form of protest.
Is a must.
Faith is a must. And so I think when we talk about that, when I come into a place, me being married to my wife and us being together, it's a form of letting you know, this is what is possible, and this is how I live my life. Right. And I want you to understand that it's attainable, and I can help you get there if you want to listen. So my protest is my lifestyle. You know how I get out. Like we've dealt with as we talk about, we laugh and talk about our white friends are from another church who is majority white, and we deal in real time with race issues, racism. Years ago we've taught Bible studies about Jesus and race. Right. You know, we've done breakout sessions on racism and microaggressions with you know 250 white folk. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So it's not. So it's not that. You know, right now in this moment, I'm still present. I'm still talking to them.
It's kind of cool, though, don't you think, that this is coming to the forefront for the work that we have put in for the last few years, for real?
I think it's it is amazing, and it's God really has a plan, right? Because everybody want to claim how woke they are, bro. I was woke in the 6th grade, man. I'm 44 years old. The stuff that y'all telling me now that y'all feel like is new, I've been knowing for 30 years. Right. You understand what I'm saying? When I was pumping this stuff in school, I was being called weird out here. He come with that African stuff. Here he come with that black stuff. Here he come with the red, the black, and the green. Right. Here he come with the he want to tell us about some massacre in Tulsa and in Central Park. Here he go. Right. He always got to know something. Now I was on his nerves, bro. Right.
The unfortunate thing that I find with myself, is that I was raised in the hood. Yeah. But my mama took me out of the Kansas City public school, and she put me into a foreign school.
Thank God.
Really early in my life, and so I got to enjoy things that probably a lot of urban people will never get to enjoy or whatever.
Amen.
So when people are talking about this wokeness, I just find like, what is the criteria for wokeness?
You know what? Nobody knows, bro. It seems that if I feel like I'm woke and I feel like you not, that's the criteria. Like I'm woker than you because I got one little morsel of information that you didn't have. I'm woker than you, and I think it's a mythical. Let me say it's sort of like the GOAT conversation.
Yeah,
it's like this mythical thing that it's like, no, if you're woke, because we haven't defined it. I think.
Right.
I would define it simply as being aware of the true history of America, and I didn't say Black history.
Okay.
If you gonna be woke, you need to know the true history of where you are.
Okay.
Right. And so
be able to do what with the knowledge that you obtain.
I think with any information, it's just intellect unless you apply it to life.
Okay.
So if you are aware of the true history of this country, then you understand the as we talk about injustice and we talk about systematic racism, you won't be ignorant to that being a thing. One, you'll understand what it is and how it's formed, and then that gives you a pathway on what needs to change.
Right. Okay.
You understand? Because you don't know, if you don't know what's wrong, how can you change what's wrong?
Right.
You know, everybody now is saying, yeah, racism is bad. It's the worst thing in the world. But they think racism is a white person calling a black person the N-word.
Right. And there's more to it than,
And most people, as we define racism, most people are just bigots.
Yeah.
Because they don't have any power to oppress.
Right.
So when we talk about the structural racism, when we talk about the impunity, the immunity that police officers know they have, so they overstep their authority because they know there's very little chance.
Basically.
Right. It's stuff like that. It's when you talk about the discrimination in housing, when you talk about the discrimination with schooling, when you talk about how they handle the taxes. You know, we were just having an issue here in Kansas City where they're gentrifying the neighborhood, so now they're going in and upping the taxes like 10 to 100% on people. And they're finding themselves unable to pay for it. When you talk about stuff like that,
right?
When you talk about how, it's a lot of different things. So you could talk about the prison complex,
right?
But you also talk about how it saved rural towns. Because what most people don't understand, most prisons are in towns that are just rural towns. There's nothing there. They were in the middle of nowhere.
Like crops or something.
So you got to understand those rural people, when they were starving and all they had was that raggedy land that nobody wanted. So now the federal government comes in and buys up all your land for this prison. Not only do you get rich on that, now you got a job. Right. You got a whole job. You got this, and that.
That's a double whammy.
In a rural county there where there's nothing there and no reason for anybody to be there.
Right.
People forget that. They did the same thing with public universities. Right. They put them in towns that were dead, dying, and ultimately, most of the time, 95% white. And if I could buy your land up like that. So you say when we start talking about that, then we're talking about systematic racism and how you got a 400-year head start. Anybody with any kind of sense, if you could go 400 years, let's say you go 100 years and not pay none of your workers nothing.
Whew, man, that's a lot of income you collected.
Dog. So you gotta understand when they talk about how America, the United States, became this powerhouse, it was on the backs of slaves.
Yeah.
Because you got a cotton industry. Think of what everything that's cotton in. You picking cotton.
Right.
So you ain't paying none of the labor.
Right.
Listen, you ain't got. So you think about now how you get an LLC.
And you selling the cotton.
Look, you get an LLC. You gotta have insurance. Right. You gotta do this. you basically everything, you don't got no workman's compensation.
Right.
You know, somebody cut their leg off, you throw them in the ditch and they done. All this stuff, you think about it just in the simplest of terms.
Yeah.
If that's the only issue, if it was just free labor, you understand, it's a head start. So now you're pushing against a system, and I think I done went off on my woke stuff, bro.
Cool.
You got to reel me in, reel me in, bro.
That was good because what I was thinking was
reel me in, dog. Reel me in, bro. You look, what you was thinking? Now you done got the laugh.
I lost what I was about to say. You did kind of go on the tirade.
Yeah, I went. There. But here's the thing.
Oh no, I know what I was thinking. The George Floyd situation started a lot of these protests, right?
Yes.
So that's where it began. If there was one thing that you believe that you would want to get out of this situation once the protests have ceased or once they start slowing down, if there's one thing that you can walk away from this situation and you will be glad that they granted to the urban community, what would it be?
The power that we possess when we are guided. Okay. Because while I will say some of it now is getting, into murky waters. Right. When it first started, we wasn't talking about being woke or not being woke.
Right.
We wasn't talking about, my hair color versus your hair color.
Right.
We wasn't talking about, let me be for real. We wasn't talking about Muslim, Hebrew, Christian.
Right.
We wasn't talking about none of that.
Right.
When we first got on this train, the momentum was they killed that man.
Right.
And that man looked like me, he looked like my uncle.
Right.
And they killed him, and we're not going to take it anymore.
Right.
They're not going to be able, and people were saying us, the power of we and us. Right. If we can, if anything for me, bro, for me, if you just get a glimpse of the power of we and us and how powerful it is. Yeah. Like I said, wasn't no division.
Yeah.
For at first, it wasn't none of that.
I'm glad you said that because that was something that I really enjoyed experiencing at the beginning of this. It seemed like it was a lot of love.
It was a whole bunch of love.
It was a lot of love, and we was really caring for each other.
We
was really holding each other up, and we was really looking out for each other. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of this, which like you said, I hope it goes on for a lifetime. I hope we continue this momentum. I hope we continue this push for the urban community, for us to not only get the things that we deserve, that we have not been granted through all the racism that we are facing, but if we can also just love on each other, like get in a place where we just love each other. And I know some people it's hard to love, you know what I'm saying? I know I could be hard to love. You know what I'm saying? I know I could be hard to love at times, you know what I'm saying? And I know through our experience and our history, if I go back to some of the stuff that Pastor Archie used to talk about over at Christian Fellowship, there's a history and there's an experience that you go through, and sometimes that matters on how you care for people and how you react and how you talk to people and all that different type of stuff. But if we would just find enough time to sit down with some people who got some love in their heart, who've been through a lot of stuff, like if we can sit down with some of those people who lived through the civil rights movement,
and
just
get that history,
and just get that history. You know what I'm saying?
And let me give you a clue. If you got any member of your family that's over the age of 60, guess what? You got a history book that you ain't even talking to.
Right. So, if you got some older people in your family, man, sit down and just pick their brain for you. You know what I'm saying? Instead of running around so angry and trying to get to a place where we trying to hurt somebody or we trying to fight somebody or spit on somebody, because some of these white people. I mean, I didn't mean to say that, but I did say that loud. But did you see the thing on Facebook with the lawyer lady and the husband?
And with the guns, because they said the people who walking by them, they broke the gate and they fear for their life. I think, but and remember, and I think that's it. I think the love that was, like, I think I seen something on Facebook that, because the last thing George Floyd said, he called for his mother, who had been passed for a couple years. A sign I read, and it sort of made me take a pause. They said when George Floyd called for his mothers, he summoned all mothers
Right.
everywhere.
Right. I just felt that chill.
And the thing and that there, like I said, if we can get a hold of that and keep a hold of that, oh my goodness, man, you could look what's been done. Because you could say what you want to say, but it is a big deal that places are taking down Confederate flags,
knocking them statues.
It is a big deal because guess what? They've been there for years.
Yeah,
and they refuse at everything.
That's
so
crazy. You know, in my mind, I never acknowledged those statues and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I never knew the meaning of them.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Because I wasn't. I ain't gonna say I didn't really pay attention to a lot of things.
You wasn't woke. You wasn't woke.
I wasn't woke.
I'm woker than you.
I wasn't woke. I wasn't woke because when we was growing up, you know, like I talked to bro about. We just had no reason to go into different neighborhoods that wasn't ours. You get what I'm saying?
What Scarface says, like, on my block, it's like the world don't exist.
So we shopped at Charlie's, you know, when we lived on 24th Street. Right, you know, we went to Grandma's Kitchen. We visited all the places that was in our neighborhood, and all those places provided us with whatever we needed. So we didn't have no reason to branch outside of where we were at. So if it didn't have anything to do with this area that I was in, I really didn't care about it. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't until I got older and I started going out in the world and I realized that the picture, you know, it's bigger than just my neighborhood, even though I wish we could have that neighborhood love back because everybody knew everybody in the neighborhood and you knew who lived on this corner and you know who lived on that street and you respected those people over there and you respected that. You know what I'm saying? So I just wish we can get back to a place where we just experience that all the time, and some of these kids now can experience that.
They need that, and I think that's the thing. I think we have a unique opportunity right now. People are coming together and speaking that didn't normally speak, and I think from this, I would take for my people. There are places where we can go and create that community. Because we have spread out because we're upwardly mobile and I can live in Lee Summit and I can live in Lee Wood and I can live in Blue Springs and that's great and that's fine. I'm not knocking none of that. I'm saying, but for us to come together as a people, there are spaces that we can come together as a people, bring our kids together so they can see each other. It's powerful to see black people loving each other.
It is. Boy.
It is just as powerful as we say rap music is and as powerful as we say black crime and this and this is. Love is 10 times, 100 times more powerful than it.
It's crazy because it's another thing we talk about. I'm a smiler. I'm always smiling. I'm always probably in a jovial mood. Like I have to be like super tired or something for me to have a frown on my face because, you know, like that's just how I am. But it is so crazy because I was telling bro earlier at work, it's just so many people that be frowning. And they be frowning so much that when they see me come through smiling, they just be like,
you smiling for?
Why are you happy? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Get your happy self away from me.
You know, but I try to read and I try to get in the word of God. And that is what gives me the strength to keep smiling.